Hello, everyone. We're here with Fernanda Valadez, the director of Sin Señas Particulares, the film you've probably just seen. And we're really happy that you have the time to talk to us a bit.
It's
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so your film is quite intense. I really enjoyed it, and but it has also a tough topic. The border between Mexico and the US is kind of a symbol for migration, you could say. I think it's famous all over the world for that. And people are still going missing there, of course, and it's often in the news also in Germany. It has been, and it still is, an ongoing current topic in the news and so on. Why did you decide to make a movie about the people going missing, trying to cross the border?
Well, I was born and raised in Guanajuato, which is a state in Mexico that every year expels thousands of migrants. So migration has been an issue of interest and of concern for me. And I think around 2011, 2012 in Mexico, we were living raising awareness about the violence that we have experienced since that moment. I think in Mexico, drug dealing has been an issue for many decades, but around that time, the violence transformed in terms of quantity of people being killed and people being missing, but also in terms of quality, where the quality of life and also the dangers and the uncertainty of many people. And I think in that whirlwind of violence, the migrants are a very vulnerable community because some of them are Mexican, but many thousands of others come from Central America. So they are in status of non-citizenship inside Mexico, and that makes them very vulnerable. And something that I need to say is that migration, it's really related to other kinds of trafficking, to drug trafficking, of course, but also of the trafficking of guns and of oil, illegal oil, and another merchandise. And that's what was of concern to me and to Astrid, who is co-author of this film, that migrants are a very, very vulnerable community in this context.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an important topic, and I think especially during using as well a feature film and not doing a documentary is also helping to get close to people, because you can better show, or sometimes easier connect to the emotions that are displayed in the film. But as you said, that with everything what was happening, or getting more like obvious in 2011 and 12 and since then, how much is the film based on real events, and how much research did you have to do before you could, or until you wrote the script and until you really started doing the film?
We did a lot of research. In Mexico, we have amazing journalists that have gone really deep into local communities where many events have happened. I think there were perhaps 4 or 3 events that were of inspiration to us. At some point, I had already decided that I wanted to talk about this topic. And Astrid, the co-writer and producer, she found a note. Well, it was kind of an account of a survivor of a kidnapping in a bus. And she found that there was this blog online where people were putting things that weren't publicized in regular media. And so it was a very crude and very shocking account of this survivor. And I think that with some other testimonies of the relatives of missing people, I think those were the key elements that helped us to make the script, to write it. And we kept researching because the financing process was quite lengthy. And I think the events that kept developing in Mexico kept feeding the script, and we tried to incorporate that information to make the sensation of the atmosphere and of the characters more believable.
Did you also interview a lot of people that were searching for missing relatives and sons and brothers and so on?
No, we interviewed migrants and many boys in the communities where we casted that are really close to the migration phenomenon. But that at a certain point, we had a relationship, a very good relationship with an association that gives legal help to relatives of missing people. And after an interview, both Sasha and I decided that it wasn't such a good idea to make the interviews ourselves, to talk to them, because we didn't want the mothers and the families to feel used, because we were researching for a fiction film and their priority was to publicize their cases, to find their missing loved ones. So we decided that it would be better to research from an intermediate document, like interviews by other journalists. So we could feel at the same time free to use certain characteristics that were useful to fiction, and not feel like we were exploding the pain of our people.
And because you mentioned the budget, I read that your budget got cut half during the process, and then you had to reschedule and replan all the shooting and so on. How did this happen, and how did this work out?
Well, it wasn't exactly cut in half. It was kind of. In Mexico, we used to have, because the pandemic made us lose a lot of public funding for films, but we used to have this fund for first features and films that were more social or director oriented, and it had a certain amount. So we wrote and we planned the film to that amount that we were requesting. And when we were approved, if the film was approved, we received also the news that the fund also cut the financing in half. So everything that we had planned for, it didn't work anymore, because we had to find more money, and we couldn't find much more. So in the end, what we had to do was to reimagine the production scheme and try to shoot in a different form.
Mm-hmm. And did you then have to plan this, like the shooting differently? Because I read then you had to reduce the crew, but it might also, I mean, it made a different film than maybe the film you've planned before, and maybe it even helped, like, artistically.
I think it did, and when I talk about this, Astrid says you shouldn't say that, because then it would mean like, oh, it's okay to cut the public funds, but that's not what I want to express. It made me think really thoroughly about how I wanted to shoot this film, what was really necessary and what it was not, and how we could find a way and a style of telling the story without putting as much in front of the camera, and thinking about what was outside the frame. So I think in the end, it was a benefit for the film, because the way it was written was, without us knowing in the beginning, it was consequent with that. When Asha and I were writing, we were thinking that this was a journey into the unknown. So the information that the audience has about the context is very limited, because you don't really know who are these people that are killing others and what they want. You just know there's danger. And we wanted that, because we wanted the audience to experience the film in the position of the main character without knowing. So when we had that cut in the budget, we felt, okay, then let's take this to the extreme. If you don't know in terms of narrative, then let's also not know much in terms of what you can see. So sometimes in the film you can hear more than you can actually see in the frame.
Yeah, it makes you also feel close to the main character, I'd say, to the mother. I mean, she's an amazing actress, but when did you decide in the process to make the film, like to put mother in the center of the whole story?
I think that was one of the earliest decisions. When we were beginning to do a research and wanted to make this feature, I was still a student and I had to shoot my graduation short film. And so I decided to make an adaptation of our idea into a short film. So it would work kind of experimentation and an essay of what we wanted to do later with the feature. So for that short film, I had the main idea of the mother looking for her missing son, and I already had Mercedes Hernandez, the actress, as the main character, and it was a great experience.
I mean, it's also it's a good choice as well, because I think often the mothers stay back. I mean, the children leave for a better future, or often, of course not always, but often the men rather leave and they stay back home and take care of the family and so on. And she takes this quest to look for her son, and yeah, I really like that. I also have I had one more question regarding the research, because I read there actually were, I mean, it's not so common that a whole bus goes missing, but it happened.
It has happened, and I think what has been more common is that the passengers are taken. And at some point when we were in the early period of research, it was very common for buses to arrive to the border without half the passengers or without any passengers, only with the suitcases. And there was an investigation, a journalistic investigation about that. Many of those suitcases weren't reported because the bus lines were also, it's a complicated phenomenon. They were also afraid to speak, but also afraid to lose their clients. So they just kept them in a warehouse.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, there are a lot of connections also that sometimes looking for missing people, as of the famous case of the 43 missing students, and then who can you trust? Is it really everything? Is everything said by the police and so on and so on?
Yeah.
Yeah. You made the film with almost an entirely female crew, I read. That's not very common in film business, and maybe it just happened by accident, but probably not. Probably underlying you chose for a reason. So maybe you can comment on that a little bit.
Yeah, it was a conscious decision, and I think it responds first to a very natural proximity I feel with other female filmmakers, that we can establish a more flexible and more creative, less authoritative kind of working relationship. But also it comes from the experience of a past film. I'm also a producer, and the way Astrid and I work is, since we were in film school, I produce the film she directs and she produces the films I direct, and we co-write. So the first film as a feature that we developed as a company, it was hers. And in that experience, we realized we became very conscious of this gender disparity in film, particularly in certain positions like electricians. Well, we already had a female photographer at that time, but all the crew around the photographer were male, and it created sometimes unnecessary tensions. And so for this film that was so tight in the budget, that was so kind of put with pains. It was fragile in the production scheme because we didn't have much to rely on. We wanted people that were very talented, very committed, and very generous to the project. And we thought we should make that mostly an all-female crew. We had our gender diversity quota. We had a male sound recordist who was great. And when he mentioned that for the first time he understood what it must feel like to go to a crew and being the only one of your gender, because the rest of us were women.
Yeah. I mean, you did a wonderful job. You also, I mean, the film traveled a lot of festivals. You won the Audience Award at Sundance. I think that's also really nice because it's not an easy film, or not, it's a tough topic. So it really touched the people so that they voted for that. And yeah, we're really happy that we can show it here. You have a German distributor for the film. And yeah.
We're very happy and very happy with the distributor, and very happy that this very small film that we never imagined would travel places. Now it's finding a very different kind of audience.
Yeah, and we're really happy that we can show it in the cinema in Tübingen, but also online, and everyone in Germany can even watch it. So everyone can recommend it to friends and family and so on. And yeah, do you have something you would like to tell the audience in Germany?
Well, just to thank you and to marvel, well, to thank you for watching that, and to be eager and open to watch films from different realities like ours.
Thank you very much, Fernanda, for the interview. And yes, see you soon, maybe hopefully next time for real, from Mexico to Germany with your next one. Thank you.
Thank you.